Somebody brought up this issue of a Pew report that says atheists are better educated in the Bible than believers. I have a few thoughts on that. One, you can get a PhD in God exists, or you can get a PhD in God does not exist. They're both PhDs. They're not both right. They can't be both right. So somebody is getting bad information. And you could jump on here and argue about which one it is. That's not the point. The point is they're not both right. They're both highly educated, but they're not both right. Two women with PhDs in psychology will learn totally opposite treatments for their patients with mental disorders. They're not both right. But that variation in PhDs does exist. I know it. A PhD recipient may be highly knowledgeable in a very narrow way, with an education going like this, and may have little knowledge or understanding in anything else. A person can have a PhD and have very poor critical thinking skills. I know this. In my education, I have had brilliant professors. I have had professors who were very not. In one program, I switched majors because of my major professor, who was the department head, who was a PhD professor, very inept. I said to myself, I can't do this. I have got to go somewhere else. In another program, we had one PhD professor who was supposed to be teaching statistics, and he was so bad at it that another one of the students in my class tried to get a refund for the class. And how he could be so bad in statistics. His PhD, the particular PhD he had, would have required facility in statistics. Don't get it. In that same program, I had another professor whose instruction I considered so valuable. Just his instruction alone, to me, was worth the whole program. So then just thinking about education in the Bible. As I said back in the beginning, you can get a PhD in God exists, and you can get a PhD in God doesn't exist. I think of Bart Ehrman, who was a believer, an evangelical, until he went to Princeton to get his PhD, and they evangelized him into atheism. I would not be surprised if most atheists, not all atheists, but most atheists, began as nominal, maybe not real knowledgeable Christians, and were evangelized into atheism by professors who programmed them. That process alone would mean that the atheists had studied the Bible more than the non-atheists. It being that specific Bible study that led them to atheism. It's also probably true that there are more Christians than atheists. So there would be a greater range of Bible study among Christians than among atheists. And that alone says something about what the statistic of the Pew report would actually mean. Statistics can be a trap. You have to know a lot more about the statistic than the raw statistic itself to actually understand it. My oldest son is an actuary. The insurance company he works for pays him a lot of money for him to tell them how they can use the statistic, what it actually means and what it doesn't mean. Because an insurance company's understanding of statistic means the difference between their success and their failure. Circling back, you can get a PhD in God exists, or you can get a PhD in God doesn't exist. That fact alone can be expanded to discount the Pew report. And all those things are a good thing to keep in mind when you're basing someone's understanding on some letters that come after their name. Oh, it would take me into a whole bunch of other posts. I'll leave it.